Have you ever had a bad night of sleep? And I'm not just talking about being a little tired in the morning, but feeling as if you've been run over by a bus. We've all been there. You wake up in the morning and you feel not rested at all, and you have a long day at work or at school ahead, and you don't really know how you're going to cope with the day. And it really gets problematic once you start having bad nights of sleep on a regular basis, meaning that you don't really sleep well. Maybe you have troubles falling asleep, or you wake up several times throughout the night. And that's what this video is about. It's the first of our series on how to sleep better. And today we look at 5 simple tips how you can sleep better and faster every night. Number 1, wear a sleeping mask. Our brains are wired to be awake when it's bright and to be sleepy and sleep better when it's dark. And many times we don't have that perfect situation, even not at home. So it might be that there's light from the street lamp shining through the window, maybe there's light coming through the door, and all of that actually affects the way we sleep. You want to make sure that you sleep in a dark room, but it's not always possible. And getting a high quality, comfortable sleeping mask really is a game changer. Not just for travel, but for your life in general. They're very simple, you just put them on, and the moment you put them on, you don't see anything. But you want to make sure to get a good one, because the cheap ones are made from polyester, so that means that you start to sweat a lot while you sleep. Then they also are not very comfortable. You have this feeling of pressure along your head, and then they also fall off during the night, which you want to avoid. So if you get a sleeping mask, make sure to get a good one from the start. Number 2, and this one is a huge one, make sure to get some high quality wax earplugs. So for me personally, I used to sleep quite well even when it was loud outside, but over the years living in noisy streets and living with roommates and living in apartments where you can hear somebody walking up the steps, I personally developed this sensitivity to noise, and one of the biggest game changers here was earplugs, but not any earplugs. You need to make sure to get earplugs made from wax, because what they do is they suppress a lot of the noises that you hear. And that doesn't mean that you don't hear anything anymore, but it seems as if whatever you hear is like half a mile away. And that's very calming and relaxing. So these are the ones that I use, and there's a big mistake that I made in the beginning is there's a cotton wool around them, and I tried to put them like this into my ear, and I was wondering why it doesn't fit. Well, the secret is that you have to remove the cotton wool first, then you have the wax earplugs, and you can shape them into small balls and then press them gently into your ears. And it might take a couple of nights to get used to the feeling of having something in your ear, but actually over time you start to enjoy it a lot, because the moment you plug in your earplugs, you already know it's time to go to bed. And as a little side note, if you have trouble at work focusing on work, you can also use earplugs to better focus and get in this sort of tunnel mode, especially if you sit in a noisy office with a lot of people around you. Try using earplugs when working. And number 3, get some blue light blocking glasses. And I know they do look ridiculous, and I've walked outside with them at night and people were looking at me, probably thinking, what is this weird guy doing out here on the streets? Why is he wearing these glasses? But well, the thing that I know is that I'm blocking out all of the blue light and I'm better falling asleep, because blue light signals our brains to be awake, to be alert. Blue light usually comes in the early morning or throughout the day, and that's when we start to wake up and we feel alert and we're ready to tackle on the day. The problem is that nowadays we use phones, tablets, computers, TV screens, and they all emit blue light. And the later it gets during the day, the more you should try to avoid using your phone, using any type of screens. So in the best case, you won't use any screens 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. But then again, it's not really realistic. Many times it's the only time that we have to call somebody or that we have to answer messages from friends, so it doesn't always work. So one of the sure ways to avoid that blue light is to get blue light blocking glasses. As the name already suggests, they do block out the blue light. That's why they have this sort of orange color usually. And that way your body starts to produce melatonin, which tells your body that it's time to go to bed. Tip number 4 is don't drink too much before going to bed. And for me personally, this is difficult to do because I come from a tea family, and what I mean by that is that we all drink a lot of tea during the day, and usually it's probably 2 to 3 liters of green tea, and I love tea. The only problem is that you have to go to the toilet a lot. And especially when you drink tea or just water in general, before going to bed, you're sure to wake up in the middle of the night and you have to run to the toilet. And what it does is it interrupts your sleep. You need more time to go back to sleep, and the next morning you wake up feeling less refreshed, as if you've been sleeping through the whole night. So tip number 4, don't drink too much the 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. And tip number 5 is go to bed every day around the same time and wake up every day around the same time. Our bodies, they have this sort of internal clock, and once we get into the rhythm of sleeping at a certain time and waking up at a certain time, our body really gets used to it. You probably had the experience that you wake up in the morning 5 minutes before your alarm rings, feeling super refreshed and ready to tackle the day. That's the power of consistency in your sleep, and it starts with getting to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time. The more fluctuations you have in your sleeping pattern, meaning one day you go to bed at 10 p.m. and the next day 2 hours later, and the next day you stay up until 2 a.m., your body never really knows when it's time to be sleepy, when it's time to feel awake, and you will really have problems waking up in the morning and feeling energized throughout the day. So these are the first 5 tips from our series on how to get better sleep, and you can start to implement them right away, and I will promise you, you will start to sleep better immediately. So let us know in the comments, do you have problems with going to bed, with waking up in the morning? What are your usual strategies? Have you tried some of these tips? We are happy to hear from you. And if you haven't, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and see you in the next video.